Welcome to everybody. I am the chair of the Agricultural Landscape Working Group of IFLA Europe, working still 2025. Since 2025, the working group is composed by 8 members from all over the Europe, from the very north Europe, Iceland, for instance, to the very south, like Greece and Italy. In 5 years of activity, we organized several webinars concerning the agroforestry landscape and how it's possible to manage together different issues that are so important for us landscape architects in a holistic point of view, and especially how landscape architects can support and promote the better planning, designing, and managing of the landscape, of the rural landscape. We prefer to use the word rural landscape because rural landscape is an eco-mosaic of different patches composed by agriculture, but also forestry and also grazing, and all the communities that make this landscape visible through the work over the centuries that shaped these different parts of the world. With IFLA World, we collaborated because I am the representative of IFLA Europe region inside IFLA World, and we focused our activities mainly on the character of each single landscapes, not only in Europe, but all over the world, depending on the different components of the landscape, both tangible and intangible components. In particular, Region Europe facilitated the contact between IFLA World and the FAO program, GIAS, Global Interesting Agriculture Heritage System, in order to recognize that particular character that make the difference in preserving biodiversity and also allowing people to live there, to have food and to have the livelihood inside this particular area. Today, we talk about it's possible not only to manage together biodiversity and agriculture in terms of course, productivity and income for the farmers, but how sometimes, maybe many times, biodiversity really help directly the quality and the quantity of production in order to have healthy and producing landscape in which it's possible that communities still are able to live there. So, waiting for our moderator, Tani, I want to leave the red carpet to the first speaker. We have a very strict time, and so I don't want to spend more words, and so I leave the red carpet to Ikram. Please, Ikram, you have your presentation, and we are waiting for you. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Are you seeing my screen? Okay, thank you. Thank you for having me. As we know, nature can transform itself from a foe to an ally, and farmers have known this for centuries and have learned to survive and produce food despite hot temperature, little water, and even lack of arable land. And that's we have to learn from them. We can, as the landscape architects, take a lesson from these who are part of the solution for a challenging future. And today I would like to share with you a powerful example of this ingenuity. I'm going to talk about the Kataya system in Ghar el-Milh, where farmers turn tough natural conditions into a productive and sustainable way of life. Let me take you to a small town in northern Tunisia called Ghar el-Milh. It lies between the mountains of Jbal al-Nadur and the coastal lagoons of Ghar el-Milh and Sid Ali al-Makki, which are now protected as a Ramsar wetland. In this unique and challenging environment, a remarkable agricultural technique known as Ramli has allowed farming to thrive, right where it once seemed impossible. And this dates back to the early 17th century, where the region, including Ghan al-Malh, witnessed the mass arrival of the Moriscos, Andalusian Muslims expelled from Spain. These communities were renowned for their expertise in irrigation and market gardening. They faced two major challenges, Ghan al-Malh being trapped between mountains and a coastal lagoon, and the land itself being largely saline. They developed an ingenious solution. By covering the soil with layers of manure and sand, they created a passive irrigation system. And in this system, plant roots are naturally nourished throughout the year by rainwater stored in the soil and floating above the seawater, made available through the tide movements. The word Ramli literally means on sand, and that's exactly what it is. These are farming practices that grow crops directly on sandy soil, like we are seeing on the picture on the left, and that's the Ramli plots floating above the lagoons of Ghan al-Milh. It's an ingenious system that turns fragile, salty, and shifting terrain into productive farmland. So Gatay in Ghan al-Milh is like the farming polders that they have in the Netherlands. So why this system is unique? How does it work? The Ramli crops are irrigated by, as I said, by fresh rainwater that floats on the surface of the salty sea water, and this fresh water reaches the crops through the movement of the tides each 6 hours, especially during the high tide. They irrigate it passively 2 times a day, and farmers must regularly calculate the sea level and maintain the soil at the exact level of the water, as you see in the first scheme. And if the plot is too low, the roots come into contact with salt water, killing the crops. If it is too high, the roots dry out. So farmers regulate the soil levels by adding sand and manure, and this is how it works since 4 centuries. It's the same technique which is perpetuated. Why is it unique? Because it adapts to harsh and salty environment. It optimizes water management naturally. It promotes biodiversity and soil fertility, and it integrates ecological principles long before modern sustainability concepts. And these are some examples of the Ramli crops. So this ingenious system allows year-round cultivation without artificial water, even during periods of drought. Ramli practices are highly adapted to fight dry environmental conditions by reducing water loss from evaporation and increasing the capacity of soils to retain water. And plots in the Ramli system are efficiently utilized, making optimal use of space and achieving high productivity, even they are very, very narrow. Here are some examples of green beans, of broad beans. This Ramli system is basically family farming. Farmers exchange means of production among themselves, and the workforce is made up of family members who pass on the know-how and production techniques from generation to generation. And these plots within the Gatrais are very narrow, as I said, and do not exceed a few hours in size. This is to better protect them from dry winds and sea spray. The crops are protected by palisades for Provence and dried reeds collected in the neighborhood, and these palisades are made and fitted out by farmers according to specific techniques, whether everything is studied, even the width between the reeds for the best efficiency. And that is to say 3 fingers or approximately 4 centimeters, like the Ramli farmer is showing us. Farmers in Ghan al-Milh primarily grow potatoes, beans, and onions. Today, there is more varieties, but farmers prefer to use local ones, which they exchange among themselves. And indeed, Ramli crops are known to have unique flavor, which is known by local consumers. But potatoes in Ghan al-Milh are the most important crop in the Ramli plots, but also in the entire Ghan al-Milh region. And the Ramli agricultural systems in the lagoons of Ghan al-Milh has been recently recognized as a GIS program or a CMAP, and this acknowledges its importance for sustainable agriculture, cultural heritage, and food security. The CMAP program is preserving ancient knowledge for the future, not only as a production system, but also as a culturally and historically system. Ramli also reaches 3 of the 17 Sustainable Development Goals, which are decent work, economic work, climate action, and life on land, since it preserves practices that help fight climate change, allow agriculture to thrive in extreme conditions, and ensure food security in the area. Besides this production system, El Gatayas or Ramli play a significant role in regional development by integrating into a local ecological circuit, which includes several hiking and biking trails, rest areas, and points of view. And this initiative helps to revitalize local agriculture, preserve traditional knowledge and craftsmanship, and support local economies and small farmers. Here is we're seeing photos of some expeditions, and this project is not about isolated landscape interventions, but rather about creating discovery circuits that offer a true immersive experience, meeting local farmers, sharing a cup of tea with them, enjoying a meal at a guest table, and it is about connecting people to the land and its constituents. Gatayas or Ramli are site of educational tours to showcase the history and ecological genius of this system. But it is important to say that Ghan al-Milh is situated in a region with high touristic potential. It is now facing tourism pressure and environmental challenges to protect it. As a conclusion, I'll say that Ramli or Gataya is more than an agricultural technique. And I want to say something that I've heard, that in agriculture we have also culture. Ramli is a living legacy of resilience, innovation, and harmony with nature. Its preservation and promotion ensure a sustainable future for Ghan al-Milh and beyond. And thank you for your attention. Thank you.
Thank you so much. I think we'll move on to our next panelist. Margarita, would you like to present your presentation?
Yes, please.
Ikram, can you please stop sharing your screen? Perfect. So I'll just share the screen for you and over to you. Just give me a minute.
I must tell you that we didn't know about this Tunisian way of production. Ours, it's very similar in the opposite. We excavated, we don't put in. So I will show you.
Complementarity in the Mediterranean Sea.
Yes. Next, please. Okay, I will talk about areas of special wealth playing essential roles in the territory, but simultaneously these areas are of great attraction, as we know, coastal areas, and human occupation. Initially, I will show you they are giving rise to balanced situations, which in many cases evolved into abuses, imbalances, and even destruction. our landscape architect's role, it's the conversion into harmonious landscapes, taking on the great challenge, it's really a great challenge, of ensuring essential functions in balance with useful uses to communities. Next, please. I believe that all around the Mediterranean and South Atlantic Ocean, we can say that we have 0 days of frost per year and plus high atmospheric humidity. We have high diversity and intense exchanges because we are in an interface between land and sea. This is an habitat for various species. It's a maternity, it's a nursery, shelter areas. These areas are under strong influence of winds, tides, and currents, but act at the same time as a moderator of these winds, tides, and currents. Always attracted and settled populations, and they provide early crops and year-round production. Of course, they are now at risk of natural and human disasters. Next, please. Along the coast of Portugal, we have, similar to Tunisia, we have several productions like vineyards and orchards in compartments protected by hedges. Sometimes they are living hedges because the weeds are alive and shrubs. Sometimes they are dried reeds and sometimes dry stone walls. Next, please. So we can have these vineyards in the dry, sandy soils, but always with the concern to maintain a mosaic with the woods that protect, that improve the biodiversity and protection for these crops. Next, please. So vineyards and in the background, fruit trees, very special. Always maintaining this mosaic most of the time with pine woods for maintaining biodiversity. Now I will introduce a very, very special and unique form of traditional farming. This is practiced in the north coast of Portugal and is increasing agricultural yields. The name is maceiras. Maceira in Portuguese means bread kneading tray. The vineyards are cultivated on the banks exposed to the south, east, and west, fixing sandy slopes just to fix it. And in the northern slope, we can have more biodiversity, trees and reeds, because they act as a windbreaker against the prevailing northern wind. Allied with these 4 covered slopes, the maceira function as a sort of greenhouse because the temperature is higher and is protected from the wind. We use sargasso, it's a seaweed. It's gathered from the nearby Atlantic Ocean during the summer, and you use this for fertilization because we are working with dry sand, very poor soils. This system was created in the 19th century. It works very well until the middle of the 20th century, and after the World War II, declining this system. So this is the kneading tray in Portugal. So the agriculture bed, it's similar to this. Next, please. So you can see pointed in red, Portugal, Peninsula, Iberian Peninsula, Portugal, and in red, the place of this agriculture. Next, please. So we are not sure that is a unique culture in the world. It can appear in China, I don't know, in Far East, I don't know. We don't know any other system like this. So we have these 4 diagrams representing the construction process. The ground is modeled we need to lower the level in the interior to bring the agriculture closer to the water table. It's sweet water table. And placing the extracted earth on the periphery in this form of hillock, allowing protection from the wind and increasing the temperature inside. The introduction, it's very important, the introduction of sargasso, the seaweed, increases the fertility of the sandy soil and favors the cultivation of horticultural species in the interior. It's highly productive, is intensive, and early horticulture. So the early products are very expensive. Without any machines, without any chemicals. So, next, please. It's just a sketch. We have on the left side the sea, and then the dunes, and then we excavated and constructed the Maceira. And always the presence of inland pine woods around this system, maintaining biodiversity and protection. Next. So this is the vision. Each individual bed, depression, covers an area from 1,000 to 10,000 square meters. And we have the vineyards in the banks. Next, please. So always in the background, the wood, pine woods and other species that support the coast wind. Another. The same, always surrounded by woods. We used rafts for collecting the sargasso in the seaweed, cork rafts to collect. Next, please. And we storage and dried the sargasso in the beach and then introduced it in the beds. Now, it was a little bit the past, the balanced system. Now this system is in danger due to the increase of greenhouses. So we are making more and more intensive agriculture. We had that naturally, and now we are trying to push, and it's not very good because it's endangered also by chaotic urbanization, and the beach sand is extracting for construction. So this is a threatened system. Next, please. The present situation, it's quite chaotic with greenhouses and the maceiras and the urban expansion and so on. Please. So the municipalities were aware of this danger, and the municipality of Povo de Varzim granted around 500 hectares of this territory for the exclusive use of maceiras to protect this type of unique and sustainable traditional agriculture. And in 2013, another municipality, Esposende, launched an international open competition for the preliminary study of the city park, 18 hectares. The winner was a firm for landscape architects, Portuguese landscape architects, and was considered a conceptual innovative solution that assimilates and explores the concepts of maceiras and sargasso and makes the transition between urban and park space. The last one, please. So this is the master plan, always trying to balance some woods with open areas, not for agriculture this time, but recreation, because it's an urban park making the transition. But you can see the proposal have some woods in the background, and in the first place near the river, there are salt marshes maintained. So always trying solutions to maintain biodiversity, to compensate. So I believe that we can have beds and plots of very, very intensive use agriculture use, horticultural use, or like in this park, open area for recreation. And if these plots are surrounded by mature woods, mature systems surrounding them and compensating them. Thank you very much.
Shruti, if you would like me just introduce the third presentation, because after these last very interesting cases about traditional agriculture system that was able to use the local problems as challenges and transform weakness in strongness, and finding the right solution in order to produce food, of course, and other ecosystem services, but without depressing not only, I mean, the biodiversity in terms of environmental matters, but also for the communities, because the character of landscape is really rooted with the community that produced, of course, that kind of landscapes. But what about the most part of the agricultural landscapes that use a model important from the industrial world as the conventional agriculture, where everybody with machine, with chemicals are able to cultivate, not using the local situation, but just using a general model that is able to change completely the landscape, but also the community that live there. In these last years in Europe, we have a strong discussion regarding biodiversity, and after all, nature law restoration was adopted by the European community in order to have in every single farm the 4% of land dedicated to biodiversity. And about this, because in Italy, the country where I come from, and also Gioia, we have a very strong situation due to the diversity of the territory from the Alps to Africa in terms of latitude, and how people in every single situation was able in the past, but till now, to stay there, to cultivate, and to find the right way to face also the climate change. So please, Gioia, let us what you think about.
Okay, thank you so much to invite me. I try to share my screen now and hoping to, okay, I think that I am able to do that. You see it?
Yes.
Okay, so I think that you have to, probably you can see it. And okay, so we speak of, there is some trouble in the slide, but my presentation regards Italy, agriculture and landscape architects in order to face the challenges that Francesca told about before. And I begin with a glance to Italy. Sorry, I try to begin to Italy, and to, it doesn't move. I don't know why. Okay. To Italy, and I explain in a glance our country, because it is a very particular country, and I will show you it with some numbers that you can see in the slide on the right. Because it is a very, you see, a very small country, but with a lot of people, and a strict relationship with the sea, but contemporary, we have the higher and the lower landscape in Europe. You see the Mont Blanc here, and the Po Delta river on the right. Sorry, I'm a little bit confusion. On the right here, where we have some part of the land that is under the sea level. And then, moreover, we have a seasonal deep temperature difference of almost 100 degrees Celsius. As for the geomorphology, the difference of the geomorphology, but also for the latitude, because Italy is longer from north to south. So this great difference became in the centuries in a very huge difference in landscape. We have an incredible variety of landscapes, thus a variety of cultures, traditions. And so we don't have one agriculture, but many different agricultures that have shaped the landscapes in a not-end cycle. Because the land shape oriented the agriculture, of course, because the type of soil, the weather, the climate, and the geomorphology shaped the previous agriculture. But then the agriculture began to shape the landscape. And so the results now is a great amount of diversity in all its expressions, as you can see in these pictures. And okay, and here we can see one of the results of this diversity, the agrodiversity. And again, some numbers can explain to you the richness of our agriculture. I don't read them because I have no time and they are it's very boring, but I will give you the slide. But what is happening now? Our precious agriculture is becoming vulnerable, together with the rural landscapes, for soil consumption, land abandonment, moreover, most of all in hills and mountains, for the agricultural intensifications in the plains and the valleys, and for the agriculture independent of local resources and landscapes. And this is a result of the European agricultural policies, CAP, and from the market. So now we are making some questions to us and to everybody. I think that this is a global problem for the industrialized countries. And our questions for the third millennium is what kind of agriculture or agricultures, for which landscapes, for which consumers, for which products, and for which farmers. Everything is changed very, very fast. So since during the time agriculture has been changed a lot, and of course it is changed because it is changed the technology and so on. But what I am interested in sharing with you is the change of scale that has taken place over the last 3 centuries. In this slide, I tried to summarize it. The scale change has imported a progressive increase in relationships, networks, information exchanged, and of course, energy used. This complexity requires an integrated approach and vision to keep everything working together in synergy and not in conflict. So in the slide, you can see what was agriculture till the 19th century. The driver were climate, soil type, and water presence, and the agronomic practicals. And in 20th century, we have the same driver, but adding markets and policies. And up to now, in the third millennium, we have the same drivers of before, but then we have something new, that is landscape as an integrated concept of nature and culture, society, the relationship with the society. The agriculture is the importance of agriculture is improving a lot for society, also for the increasing of people, but also for the other kind of services, not just production, that agriculture can give to the society. And then the supply chains, the communications, and the global networks that influence a lot cultivations and the farmers' activities, and so the landscape. So in these scenarios, we have to deal with a lot of different problems, and we have some challenges to approach. And so I try to show this case study that is regard an area within the metropolitan area of Milano, the place where I live, also Francesca live, and this is a nice a nice case because it embraces all the actual challenges. Also, I will present the history of this territory that is it is in effect an island, a rural island within the urbanization of Milano. That is a very, very dense urbanization with a lot of pressures, a lot of criticalities. Is an area about 600 hectares. And it is a bottom-up project of urban agriculture driven from the Barona. Barona is a neighborhood of Milano, citizens, from the farmers, but also from the soil, the water, the rice, and the biodiversity that were the real actors of this project. This is the area. You see the island is here. It is named the rice park because in effect in this area the main culture is rice, because there is a lot of water. The underground water is very, very high, so and the lime is the most part of the soil. And my role in this project as a landscape architect has been to collect the community needs, not to project really project, and not the classical type of project, but collect the community needs. The community were composed by farmer and citizens of the neighborhood, moreover, and collect their desires, needs, and also some dreams during a participating part that lasted 1 more year. Once collected the desires, the job has been to translate desires and dreams into real goals and actions for the project, shared, obviously. A main goal was help the farmers to remain in this place. Urban agriculture here is a great resource, indeed, but under enormous pressure from the city's continued growth. We all think that building don't work. Instead, here, building run very, very fast. And so to preserve soil is a great problem. So we became from the goals, and the goals were for a sustainable development, of course, and were to maintain a rural landscape able to preserve an healthy agriculture and resources as water, soil, and biodiversity, retaining farmers as a presidium and land managers, and the real 0 kilometers productions for the people, the citizens. So after the goals, the job was to give a shape for each shared action. And lastly, to decide with the community the priority actions, actors, and funding. And so the approach were multifunctional and multi-objective, and regards landscape, agriculture, resilience, recreation, education, economy, ecosystem services for help to come to the results. And it was very important to communicate the values and benefits of the agricultural area and the ecosystems to the citizens, because they, in effect, choose their future landscape. So if they don't understand that, they can't make the right choice for themselves. So we try to approach it linking the ecosystem features and functions with the human perception, culture, and decisions. And so here you can see the very strict relationships between ecosystem features and processes with the human needs and perception, and the material and immaterial benefits produced by the future landscape. For example, well-being, physical health, the inspiring role of landscape, and so on, most of all important for a city as dense as Milano is. Also, in 2010, we won an international prize for the project, which helped to demonstrate the landscape value, and this was very, very important for us. And then I go very fast through the conclusion. Here you have the easier actions for the biodiversity and landscape. To plant plants is the easier part, but then and there is another part that is as important as this one, that is the animation of people, and make them understand and embrace the intangible benefits. So culture, education, and recreation obtained with events organized with the farmers within the farms. And then we go to the problem of the change scale. And in order to do that, there were a huge activities to deal with the government, the local government, and for the once meeting with the province had an important result, that was the cancellation of a planned road that is this planned road was cancelled for the provincial plans. And it was very, very important, because the road would have produced a huge barrier between the park and the city. And it was delayed thanks to an agreement with the province. I think that this part of the project that is not built something, but it is delayed something, is one of the main actions that we could do. Then the results also, in order to go to the territory, not remain in the farms, is the involvement of the local government and of the new networks that make possible to use the legacy of the project as the basis to fund the 5 Milan agricultural districts that are the districts are territory, but are also more networks between farmers and between the municipalities and so on. And these agreements, this network, produce new actors, new brands, new deals, and now we have a different kind of rice that is product here inside the rice park, or around the rice park in the 5 Milan agricultural districts, that are becoming something that is touchable and very, very useful in order to communicate agriculture and to appreciate, for the citizen to appreciate their landscape, rural landscape, that they didn't know before of this project. And the last result, going from local to global, was this kind of birds that today regularly comes to the Rice Park in order to as a stepping stone in their trips along the Europe and the Africa, so a stepping stones of the European ecological network, and this I think the main quality indicator, that is biodiversity. So concluding, I think that the future of a sustainable agriculture is possible if we manage in a new approach where society and agriculture can find a new alliance. Thank you for your attention. I finished.
Thank you so much, Gioia. Very interesting also because we move from a rural landscape to a very urban landscape in which you showed how it's possible to find an alliance, strong willingness among all the actors, stakeholders of the territory to have healthy food, healthy landscape, able to produce not only food but a huge amount of ecosystem services. Also, Caterina reached us, the president of IFLA Europe, so I invite her just to spend a couple of words and then we can listen to the question if are there questions to our speakers.
Thank you, Francesca, and thank you all for attending. And thank you, Gaia, for joining us and giving this really feedback, especially on urban agriculture. And I don't know if I can ask one question, and this, of course, applies to all the attendees. The question would be that based on the examples that you have shared with us and the project that you've shared, how feasible you see them to be applied in a bigger scale or in another country? And this, of course, applies, I know already, Ikram and Margarita's project for Mother Conference. So yeah, I want to share, please share with us, how is it possible, everything that you share, to be applied somewhere in Europe or in another continent, probably. And what type of problems you might foresee, because there are difference in culture also issues, apart from legislative ones. So I'm just giving to all this question, and it's up to you to, I can start with Gaia, and I can see on my screen Ikram and Margarita afterwards.
Well, if you want, I can begin.
Yes, please.
But I don't think that is so difficult because anyway, we used participation with the main actors in a very useful way, because the projects comes out from people and from farmers, and so if you listen to the main actors, if you find the real main actors and you talk with them and you in effect take care of their opinions, of their needs, and also of their desire, and as I told, the dreams, then you can, our work, our job is to put together everything together, and then find a design and find some actions. But the real design, not designer, but project, I mean, who really make the project are the farmers and some way the citizens. And so we just as to be a people that work beside them and try to catch what they know, what they need and what they want. And then you put on a paper with some drawing, and we try to find the tools in order to develop what they need. So I think that it is, you can repeat it everywhere. This is the method, not just the project that you can repeat.
Okay.
Also because it's in the tradition of us landscape architects, just to have a method, but we know that every single situation is completely different for the others, so it's impossible to replicate in the same way. Please, Gioia, puoi interrompere la condivisione? Thank
No,
you.
credevo di averla. Sorry, I thought that I did. Now it is okay.
I can
And,
try to answer.
yes, please, Ikram.
Yes, thank you, Katerina, for the question. I don't think that the Ramlis, for the project I presented, it is something that we can replicate, because as it is a JS in the JS program, it's unique in the world as a project of Margarita. But that is doesn't mean that it is useless for to know about it, because what we can replicate is not the system in itself, rather the attention given to the land, to the nature based solutions. What do I have they to offer to us? And traditional systems also carry a wealth of knowledge, and sometimes the future lies in looking back to the past. It's not about inventing, but when we are facing these challenges, we can turn to the past and say, how did the people before us do? And perhaps we can find lessons from it. But there is a system which is a little bit similar to the Ramley system, which is the culture in the polders in the Netherlands, which is the same thing, that we add sand and soil, fertile soil, to gain more arable lands. That is what I have to say. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you. Margarita?
I believe that Gioia show a very important thing. It's about the brand. If we have a brand for these products, like Ikram and me presented early products, quite expensive because they are produced around a year and very early. The brand, it's very important. People pay attention and pay money for have this rice from this park. The second thing is to explain, mayors, explain very clearly they have an heritage like the other cultural remains. They have this heritage in their territory and must protect them. We need to make them understand. And that's what I showed the two municipalities that have this kind of agriculture. They understood and now they are trying to take care. The third, Gioia also showed, it to improve people to understand the mayors and then the people, and to allow and provide people go inside. And Ikram showed also some tracks inside the fields to people understand and to enjoy. And if they love this kind of landscapes, they will protect it. So we need everybody to understand, to consider like an heritage, an important heritage, and then they will protect. I'm sorry to say that in Portugal, we always need to classify. To protect, we always are classifying landscapes, but if people embraces this vision, maybe that not need to classify the landscape around Milano or in Tunisia. Okay, the most important it's people and mayors to protect this and to defend from other aggressions.
Thank you. Francesca, the floor is yours. I don't want to monopolize it. I have many questions here, but carry on.
No,
Yeah.
you're welcome, of course. What I want to point out after this very interesting presentation is how can the landscape architect help the community, for instance, of farmers, to continue to cultivate and produce for a larger community this huge amount of ecosystem services. Of course, is a sustainable agriculture, because the alternative could be to transform, if abandonment will continue, big cities, huge cities and parks. But who is able to look after these parks? At the moment, we have this traditional, but not in a romantic way, but how you try to describe how it's important to keep from the past the best solution in this co-evolution between man and environment. Okay, but if we lose all these, who is going to look after this territory, especially in a country like Italy, where the 70% of the territory is hills and mountains? We have terrible problem with the erosion, with all the challenge that the climate change every day, push on the community that live where? In the plants where there are the cities. So, or we will find next best solution, and in particular us, because we are landscape architects, try to manage and also to facilitate these processes that, for instance, Gioia today presented. And in my experience, in my job, everyday job, I always work with communities and with the public administration, because it's important to create a link that it's so difficult to find, as you already well explained. So I think there is a big future also for the other region of IFLA world, where maybe some processes are faster than in Europe, but maybe you can also have some suggestion to avoid the terrible mistakes we made in the past. So now we are not looking at biodiversity because we are all, romantic people, but because we understood that it's impossible to sustain the cities without a landscape all around that really gives healthy food, ecosystem services, drinkable water. In the south of England, they are obliged to import drinkable water for Scotland because conventional agriculture completely destroyed the water, the underground water that is completely polluted. That is a terrible consequence of that kind of, and so maybe avoiding or trying to avoid using our skill and our holistic approach could be maybe the right solution for the future.
And thank you, Francesca. I wanted also to ask something here, which I think it was described in our webinars. Probably our speakers can help on that. Everything is perfect. Say we're talking with the farmers, we find the solutions, our practitioners, professionals, and so on. But when it comes to the implementation of the different policies, either at national level or at European level, I want to hear our speakers. What do they think? How difficult do you think it's from the landscape architect's point of view to make this linkage between the policies and the practice? What help probably you might need, or what probably consultation you think we as landscape architects we should give to our politicians, to our mayor, to our, I don't know, people that they are in the government to help them understand how all these policies that they are coming either from the European Union level or national level can be really implemented in a balanced way and help really our environment, but also the people that they are working with the land. So it's a question that I have in general as a professional landscape architect, and I'm just sharing this.
Question for Caesar,
Yeah. So what do you think? I don't know, because everyone is coming from a different country, different ways of dealing with politics, and of course, different way of dealing with their government. So I want to hear your share view on that. I don't know. Shall I start with Margarita? You raise your hand, so if you can unmute yourself, Margarita, thank you. Yes. You muted again, sorry.
I think we need to integrate more the different policies, to have integrated policies, because we can, and we do, to tell mayors and the government, this is a very cheap way to maintain inside the towns, the urban agriculture. It's very cheap because it's the farmers that are working, that are taking care. It provides a lot of ecosystem services, air purification and CO2, everything, biodiversity and so on. And we need to explore another policy, health policy. People are more and more concerned with health, and we can show that these products are better products for the consumers, and they will understand that it's not only ecology, it's not only about the words that they are listened very frequently, very often nowadays, biodiversity, nature protection, and so on. No, it's also for consumers, it's about health, it's about integrate the different policies. And I insist, it's a very cheap way to maintain all these services around towns or inside towns.
Thank you. Thank you, Margarita, is what I wanted really to hear. I have here a question, I think, or a statement by Fenella Griffin. Just to say thank you so much for your fascinating presentation, such an inspiring work and so many thoughts to take away and evolve our practice thinking in relation to work. Thank you, Fenella, for your statement here. I don't know if the other speakers wants to add something regarding the policy matter. If not, I don't see any other questions. I don't know. We can start. Goya, please. Yes. You have to unmute yourself, please.
Yes. Yeah. Well, I can add something. I agree a lot with what Margarita told, but I have my history that maybe could be useful for everybody. So we know that administrations and major and so on are always concerned about the urban growth because they has the problem to gain money to manage the town. And I always think about money, think about how to gain money for the town. And so they don't care about agriculture because the product of money that of agriculture is not so much. It is a service. It is not something to can gain. And but there is another. I think that there is another topic that we can put in the hands of the major and their councillors and so on. That is this one. Once I make this question to a councillor, I ask him, but how much time do you use in order to administrate your urban territory, and how does it cost to the finances of the town, and how much time do you use to manage the agricultural part, and how does it cost to the town, to the casa, and it was mute. In that moment, it became mute because he had no more answers for me. And then he told, "Yes, I understand," and it was enough. So.
Okay. Excellent, excellent point, Gaia, because it's something that we're always thinking how we can promote the landscape approach, but also to show to the others, you both mentioned it now, how financially it's beneficial to deal with that, and how the different approach and how people they can start thinking.
Yes. Yes, and I also always for them is always easier to think in a money paradigm. So
Exactly.
if you use that, it is easier. Not always we can, because there are something very, very important things that are not measurable with money. Anyway, we know. But if we can, it's useful.
Exactly. I don't know if Ikram, do you want to add something on this?
As I said earlier, it's a very deep question that you asked, but perhaps what I will add that the preservation of these sites we are talking about and so many others is not the sole responsibility of the state or the municipality. It is about the community who lives there, who lives there and knows the complexity of the territory. Always there is a disconnection between the government and who make the policies and the people, the community who lives there, and which is aware, pardon, for the problems they face, the challenges that they have. So there much be there should be a participatory approach to face the problems, and safeguarding these places is not about only classifying or to make a label to them, but it's fully to integrate them into the cultural and economic life. So, because sustainability is it not only about social or economic issues or environmental issues only, it should be to have the three of them. But it's very complex. It's very complex, and each site has its specific way to reach this.
Thank you. Just I want to help you for actually on this, to thank you for all these statements, but also because you gave this landscape approach to this problem theme, I could say, how we can really promote agriculture in a sustainable way, but on the other hand, have in our minds the biodiversity issue. And you gave practical examples, and I believe it was beneficial, this webinar for all. Francesca, if you want to add something, so we conclude, and I gave the floor to Anusruti to say the next webinar of IFLA.
May I add a few points, a very, very small point? We are very concerned about species protection. One species, a very individual approach. We need to jump to the protection of landscapes, because these landscapes provide, I cannot imagine how many species are coming inside these agricultural landscapes near urban areas like Milano or the Ikram presentation. We have a lot of biodiversity. We don't need to address a single species, but to protect the ecosystem, to protect the landscape. Let's jump to landscapes protection.
Thank you, Margarita. Very valuable. This makes a difference how landscape architects are thinking. So thank you for that. Francesca, I don't want to waste more of your time.
Yes, very short conclusion because so many things and so interesting were already said. So thank you so much to the speakers and these wonderful women that are today caring for agricultural landscape and the role of the landscape architect in this difficult transition from traditional but still working methods to new landscape in which urban and peri-urban try to find the right balance in terms of quality of landscape, as just Margherita described. So thank you to everybody. I leave to Anna Shruti for the final communication for the next webinar, and thank you so much. Bye-bye.
Thank you so much, everyone. And yeah, I think this is a great webinar. So thank you once again to all the panelists and also the attendees. This webinar is recorded and will be available on our YouTube channel. So just wait for a day or two and you'll be able to see it, go through it again. Our next webinar is going to be on the 11th of June, same time, and it will be on sustainable inclusion in public spaces and the future of sustainable play design. So I think this is also going to be a very interesting topic. We would love to have you all again, and thank you so much. Keep following us and engaging with us. Have a wonderful rest of the week.
Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you,
Bye-bye.
everybody.
Thank you.
Everybody. Bye. And nice to meet you.
Greetings, everyone.